Welcome to Marvel Champions Podcast, a podcast about Marvel Champions the card game. I am your host, Scott, and with me as always, my co-host, Ryan.
That's right. I am here. I'm back, as always. I haven't left. Still sitting in
What?
the same chair that I've
That's right. A week
basically
later.
recorded. Everything's the same. But you know what's not the same? Is I've been lucky enough to be playing some new villains that have come out with this shield box.
It led me to watch more Punisher. I never watched the Punisher series from Netflix.
Oh, you never did?
No, so I'm
I've
catching
seen
up on
the
that.
first one and a chunk of the second one.
And I was like, in a long time ago episode, we talked about a Punisher hero.
Yes, we did.
And I was like, man, I'm excited. I know a lot of people like Daredevil. He's awesome. He is awesome. And I'm excited for Daredevil. But it made me think like a Punisher hero. That's going to be pretty cool when that happens.
Yeah, shout out to that past episode, FFG. If you need help designing Punisher, we had a good idea.
Yeah.
Upgrading upgrades. Isn't that basically what it was?
Yeah. Like having like a main upgrade, like permanent upgrade that you like add attachment to, take them off. You're kind of using what you need for the scenario. Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. But yeah, it's a good watch. I liked it.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked the first Punisher. I mean, there's some parts that were my favorite, but it had some really good parts. The prison stuff was pretty epic.
Whoa, right. So, yeah. So it makes me excited for what's in the future. We still got a lot of good Marvel heroes and characters to look forward to.
That's true. Yeah, we can't quit now. We
Nope.
have so many more to play.
But FFG ran out of ideas, and they started using heroes as villains. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight.
That's a segue. Good one.
Now, so she is not the first, but she's in an elite crew, not many of them. Black Widow was our first villain scenario that we got in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. box, Ryan. So I think we're going to talk about her tonight.
Yeah, and I think she plays pretty interesting for a first villain in a box.
Because that's like the whole like concept, right? New box, kind of get your feet wet. This is kind of not too hard, not too easy. But I've seen some chatter out on the community. A lot of people have some thoughts on Black Widow.
No, I have not seen as much, so I'm curious what they've been saying once you're ready to reveal their work.
Yeah, I'll talk about it in a minute. It's not as bad, but it can be pretty bad. So, keeping on theme with running out of ideas, they just copied and pasted a bunch of titles from the Black Widow hero onto the cards.
Ah, yeah.
Now, that is actually one thing I liked about Black Widow is they took the same titles, but they've kind of tweaked them. They do similar things, but they've tweaked them a little bit. And, Black Widow hero is one of my favorites. So this was a good one to see how they were going to kind of incorporate it, pay an homage to it, but make it its own. And you'll find out if I think they did or didn't, but you got to listen to find out.
Cliffhanger. All right. Well, let's get started on it. Let's talk about Black Widow herself. She's coming at us with a 2 scheme, 1 attack, and then she evolves and just moves up. For her second stage, she's a 2/2, and then third stage, she's a 3/2. But her big thing is her Force Interrupt, which is when you attack her, she removes a threat from the main scheme. So she's helping you, but then you have to discard the top card of the encounter deck, and if it so happens to have a preparation ability on it, your life becomes miserable.
So you're saying her preparations are, like, not good?
Not this version of Black Widow. They are not good for the player.
Okay, all right.
Man, they're not good.
Yeah, she pretty much stays the same when she flips to her next stages. There's a couple win revealed, so you just place threat on the main scheme. And Ryan, do you think that is she trying to defeat the heroes through damage, or do you think she's trying to defeat them through?
Out of all the times I've lost to her, the majority has been threat related.
Well, big spoiler. That's pretty much what the community census was. She's got ways that she can activate to scheme a couple of extra times. Yeah. Plus you got your standard ways. And her threshold is 10 per player.
Yep.
It's fairly high, but it's not like super high.
Yeah. So her main scheme, it goes up one per stage, or I guess equal to the stage number, which I think is cool. But that's all it does. But yeah, it's 10, so it feels high, but playing her, it felt like it was 7. Like it was a rhino. Like it was that like risky of a feel on this game.
It had big swings. It was like,
Yes.
okay, we're down. We got like 1 or 2. We're gonna be good. And it was like, she put on like 8 that turn. That's not good.
And I think part of that is at least her Black Widow cards, they're, I think majority are 2. I think there's like maybe, let's see, I'm looking right now, 2 that has 0. Everything else, there's only a few that have 1, but most have 2, and there's several
2
that
higher.
have 3.
Yeah.
Which, man, that's bad. She quickly racks up, especially in solo. When I was talking about the 10 for solo, it felt like Rhino. For 2 players, I think it does feel a little bit different.
Right. Yeah, that was
2 or
probably the
more.
one thing I probably should have mentioned is, I think for a solo game, the 10 felt like she'd schemed and we get an encounter card and she'd scheme again and you were threading out.
Yeah, it happened multiple times. Very annoying. And then there's one other time where she beat me through punching me in the face. I'll tell about that when we get to the card, but that was not very nice.
So I think the big thing with her, I think we spent a little bit of time on it, is that forced interrupt. There's a couple different ways to play it, right?
Mhm.
Try and get around attacking her, or you just attack and hope for the best, right? Hopefully the encounter sets that are in kind of dilute the deck a little bit where you're not hitting the preparation cards. She's got some ways to fix that. Talk
Mhm.
about it, but did you feel like that was like annoying, or like did it feel right? Too easy?
It's a hard way to describe it. I think it was too easy going through the campaign with Nick and Maria because they had ways to get around it, especially Maria, because it has to be an attack. So if it's non-attack, she never activates. And
Yeah.
if you could basically prevent her from doing her force interrupt, she becomes completely different to play. But as soon as you start playing into that, she can become really difficult.
And it's a little bit of a double-edged sword too, right? Because
Yeah.
if you look at her, she's really trying to thread out on you. That's what she's trying to do. And if you're continually attacking her, you're milling the encounter deck
Yes.
with her
Yeah.
forced interrupt. So you're
Yeah.
getting to a point where that's going to like snowball into a bunch of acceleration tokens. And then
Yeah.
she gets more as she gets higher stages, she's putting more on per turn.
Yeah. So I played with her in a Hawkeye deck, and it was one of the games I was trying to specifically allow that force interrupt to play more of a role instead of playing a character that I can get around it all the time. And I really did have to be very careful what I was doing to try to get the threat down so that I don't activate the force interrupt. And it was tough.
Was that battle in Budapest?
Yes. Budapest.
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 Just like Budapest all over again.
You and I remember Budapest very differently.
Yeah, so that's like the other thing, right? That it just is what it is. If you take the threat off of the scheme, if you can keep the main scheme threat managed, she won't interrupt because there is no threat to remove to meet that portion of her force interrupt. Then you can just attack her all day long.
Yep. Agreed.
So that's the strategy, right? But it's
Yep.
easier said than done, especially if she's thwarting so much or scheming so much. She's putting on more than you can take off, especially in a solo game.
Yeah. Well, let's get into some other cards so we can keep talking about the ways that she can make your life miserable.
So miserable, it was like double miserable potentially for us, but we had ways around it. So in one of our games, Black Widow's Gauntlet attaches to her. It's like one of her big attachments. She gets +1 attack. She has 2 of them. She gets Retaliate. And then after a character you control activates her forced interrupt, no preparation ability was resolved. Then you discard her gauntlet after her Retaliate.
Yep.
So that stays out, and it's the only way to get rid of it, unless you have other ways to get rid of hero response type of, cards.
Yeah. Yeah.
She ended up getting both of them.
I know.
Because we could get around the force interrupt with not attacking her. We could deal damage without attacking. We were just like, yeah, leave them on there. We don't care.
Yeah, we're like, cool. Cool gauntlets, girl, but we're just going to bombard you from space.
That's right. And now it is, you gotta be careful though, because having that +2 attack, she can hit pretty hard.
Yes, yeah. She did also have some other attachments. This one I came across to in a recent game, the Night Vision Goggles, which is kind of her thwart version, but it gives her a plus scheme. But I think it was pretty interesting. The ability, each encounter card without a preparation ability gains preparation. Prevent all damage from this attack, then discard it. So it's a way to just prevent an attack, which is pretty nice for her, not for us. But I do like that it gets discarded. That way it just doesn't sit.
Once you activate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like has a tough in essence. I mean, it prevents everything.
Yeah. So I liked it.
You kind of had to, you knew you had to kind of waste an attack. You didn't want to use like your big event or something because you knew it was going to get negated.
Yeah. It'd be,
but
combine that with the gauntlets. Oof,
that's exactly what I was going to say. It combos with the gauntlets. So if they all gain preparation, then you're never getting rid of the gauntlets.
Yeah, rough.
That is rough. Grappling hook. It's another attachment. Force interrupt when a player plays an event card, cancel its event, and discard it. Then discard that card.
Oh man.
A lot of like stopping you with what you're wanting to do, or like negating what you still got to pay for and do everything. So it's like you did the action, you just don't get the results.
Yeah. I should mention for the gauntlets and for the goggles, it does have preparation on it, and they all are attached to Black Widow, so she just gets them. Grappling hook's a little different. You discard an event card from your hand.
Yeah, but if you don't have an event card, then
you're
kind of like, oh well, who cares? I did like that because you got to see more of her cards. You know, sometimes I feel like when you're playing a villain, some of them get sucked up into being boost cards, and you never really get to see what the card does. So you got to see a lot more from Black Widow, and I like that.
Yeah. Another attachment she had was Stun Net, which is not very nice, because if it's attached to you cannot attack, and you have to exhaust a character you control, then you get to discard it. And thankfully, any player can exhaust to trigger it, so it's kind of like you have to spend the time to get rid of it. And then the preparation after this attack, attach the card to the attacking character. Ouch.
Yeah, that's rough. Yeah, the attack thing gets stunned. She came with a few minions, Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally like the aim grunt for the preparation. So it's like you do the force interrupt, and it's like put this minion into play, engage with you, then resolve the attack against the aim grunt. So it's like you thought you were going to go do this big damage, event against Black Widow, and it's like, oh, wait, punch this giant aim grunt instead and negate everything you thought you were about to do.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. The other minion, Aim Commando, he has Quick Strike, and then his preparation, he comes into play, engage with you, so he Quick Strikes basically. So good, unique usage of the minions, I would say.
Yeah. I like how they play with the preparation. It felt just like a different pacing of the game. That's what I liked.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
She's got some treacheries, Ryan, that are all Black Widow card names. But
man, these are...
Before we get there, because I know you like side schemes, why don't you talk about some of our side schemes?
Let's do the automated defenses side scheme. It's a hinder 1, 3 threat. Comes with the amplify icon. See, each encounter card without a printed preparation ability gains preparation. Deal 1 damage to the attacking character. Man, that's another just rough. I really like the no printed preparation change. All of a sudden now they all have preparation. I think that's really cool for what she's trying to do. So I really like that.
Yeah, because sometimes you get in a false sense of security. You're like, it doesn't have a preparation printed. This is going to be easy. And then you get cards like this.
Yeah.
The other one's cool. I like the art on Destroy Evidence. Pretty cool. She's like blowing up a laptop or something. It is a 2 threat threshold with hinder 2 per player. Each other encounter card gains insight 1. When reveal, insight's inside. And then it's got a crisis icon. So, yeah, playing multiplayer, that can be pretty bad.
Yeah. It's not fun. Again, feeding into that threat the focus of Black Widow.
Yeah, the urgency of the scheme on this one. I like it.
Yep. She's 4 treacheries. You take 2, I take 2.
Sure. Which one's your one you wanted to focus on?
I want to go with Attack-Robatics because this card in my most recent game killed me. So, Attack-Robatics has, when revealed, if you're in Alter Ego, it changes you to hero form, and then Black Widow attacks you with an additional boost card. That's terrible. And then Preparation says prevent all damage from that attack. And then it has an expert mode, which I think is cool, which does the damage back to you. So, but I was playing, I was about dead. I had like 1 health, so I flipped down so that I could heal up. And I got this as a treachery. And so I flipped up and died. There was no way of surviving
Preventing
that.
it,
So
yeah.
it was very frustrating.
But it's good, like, it's frustrating in a good way.
It was good, yeah.
But yeah.
I hated the card at that moment, but I like what it's doing. I think it's a really tough card to get because I mean, if you're in hero form, then it's just a normal attack one. But that devastation of if you're in alter ego form change, that's rough. That's rough.
Yeah, unless you're like Colossus.
Yeah, that might not be so bad, but
yeah, but it's like 1 out of 50 heroes, right? So
yeah, hope you have an ally to
jump block with.
block
Yeah,
that for you.
yeah, that's. But I like that. You get that false sense of security being an alter ego, and then you know, like you said, you down to like a couple of health. You're like, I'm gonna go down and recover in the next player phase, and you don't get to do that. Just get walloped right in the face.
Yeah,
It's out.
It was very sad. It just was like, just like that, game's over.
Yep.
Dang it.
Stand there like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I know.
So I'm going to take Covert Ops. That's one of my favorite Black Widow cards. So Covert Ops, it says you are confused. Black Widow schemes, super easy. Preparation, place 1 threat on each scheme, which is kind of nice if you got a bunch of schemes out there and just adds a whole bunch. And then you're confused and she schemes, playing into her activating scheming more. And then you're confused and you probably can't deal with it as good as you're going to be able to. So
yeah.
Simple, but for what she's wanting to do with the threat, I think that one can be rough.
Yeah, that double confused scheme. That's another card that can be like a game ender in a way.
Yeah, right. You're like, I'm gonna be good, and then she normally activates, and she'll scheme for 5, and then she schemes again, and then you're confused.
Yep. All right. Do you have a preference on the last 2?
So I'm gonna take one, and then we'll talk about the last one because I think it's the one you're want to talk about last. I think we talk about it last. So I'm gonna go ahead and take Widow's Bite.
Okay. All right.
That is when revealed, you are stunned. Take 1 damage, 2 damage instead if you're already stunned. And then the preparation is after this attack, stun the attacking character. So it's like her stun card. So not terrible. Most villains have some type of stun. So
yeah, I'd say that this one's not as bad as say Covert Ops, but still not great. Being stunned's not great.
No. Yeah, Widow's Bite.
All right, let's do her most famous card, Dance of Death. So it's a when revealed, just like all the treacheries. Deal 1 damage to a character you control. All right, not bad. Then deal 2 damage to a second character you control. Then deal 3 damage to a third character you control. So you have to point out it's not deal 1 damage to you, then deal 2 damage to you, then 3. It has to be all different characters. So best case scenario, you're only taking 1 damage. Worst case scenario, you're getting devastated. Your allies and you.
Yeah, because then you got to make that decision, right? It's like, well, I can let the first ally take the 1, and then I've got to take either a 2 or a 3 if I've got, at least 3 characters. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody's getting defeated in this
Someone's
scenario.
having a bad day. Its preparation just says 1 damage to each character you control. That's even worse, I feel like.
Yeah, well, that was, I don't know, last episode, this episode, you get those one times where it's like, okay, I've got a couple of minions or an ally out there, it's got 1 health, I'm going to chump block with the next turn and just devastate you.
Yeah. Oof. Man, it's rough. Those type of effects have always been some of the worst ones to get in a game.
But like bad in a good way, because like the one thing I needed not to happen happens, and it's just it always just comes to fruition. So
Yeah.
I like it.
And I feel like she has a knack to do the thing that's like, come on.
Yeah, it's like the one thing I can't be confused or I can't be stunned going into this next turn. It's the one thing can't have happen. What happens, that thing happens.
Boop. Yeah. Yeah. And she gets it. She can get them so often because of that preparation ability.
Yeah, I said it earlier, but I liked that you got to see a bunch of these cards. They're doing something. Some of them come out. So you really got to see a lot of the encounter deck with her.
Yeah. Yeah. And as she comes with other encounter sets and whatnot, they don't necessarily feed into the preparation, but I think the real story is her main kit. I think you could throw different encounter sets and it doesn't even matter. I mean, obviously it would make it tougher in some cases, but her kit is very self-sustaining. It's good on its own.
One thing we didn't talk about, I think when we played it initially, we were kind of like, that's a decent jump, and that was her health. She's 13 per player in 1, 16 in her 2, and 20 in her 3. So
Yeah, she's got
I felt like it was a
high
good
health.
amount.
Yeah. She's the best way I can describe her is her villain card is very technical, but her scenario is very simple. Does that make sense?
She's got a lot of
You
moving
really-
parts, though. Like you're always having to like check, be like you got to do this, then I got to do this, I got to flip this, but
Yeah.
not overly complicated.
Yeah, I don't think it's too bad. As long as if you're dealing damage, if you're attacking and there's threat on the scheme, you've got to discard a card. And as long as you're following that, it's pretty self-explanatory. But like there's no additional fancy, you have to take these allies out of your deck and now they're this or that or whatever crazy thing scenarios come up with. I felt it was very simple, but you really had to pay attention and really plan ahead. Like, is the risk of doing 2 damage with my basic attack worth discarding this encounter card and getting a preparation and dying?
Yeah, that was the other thing, was like making those choices of being like, okay, I can basic attack, see what preparation it is. I can use my ally, make them attack, see what the preparation is, or I can use my big attack event that I'm ready to use.
Yeah.
And usually I chose poorly.
Yeah.
It's like the one thing I didn't need to happen. It's like you do the attack and it's like negate everything. It's like, well, that stinks.
Yeah. And that's kind of like her story is, if whatever can go wrong might go wrong.
Yeah, she's prepared.
Yeah, pun intended, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I mean,
Preparation H is top tier.
top tier preparation H. So, but yeah, I think as far as first villain scenario for a box, I think she's probably one of the better ones that we've had lately.
Yeah, she's simple, but she can be tough. I like
Yeah.
that. It wasn't a beat 'em up like I think some of the first scenarios can tend to feel like sometimes.
In a way, she felt totally different scenario, but it felt like a Crossbones, where he really was focused on moving the side scheme quick and getting powered up by that way. So you really had to be mindful of how to navigate the main scheme. And I feel like she's kind of the same way, just in damage. You got to be mindful how you damage her, because it's gonna come back and bite you if you're not careful.
Managing the threat and being careful and knowing when to attack her and not attack her.
Yeah. I think I might move her to the top of my villain test, or new hero test deck villain. And I know a lot of people have done like Rhino is a very common one.
Claw is probably like the most common one.
Yeah. I think she might be pretty high up there because she can dish damage out pretty decent. Her threat, you've really got to be mindful of it, and then she just does everything else too. So I think she's a good hero deck tester nowadays.
Okay, Ryan, how do you? What's some strategies for Black Widow?
Don't attack her.
Don't
Attack her
attack
without
her.
attacking her.
Yeah, deal damage without attacking. That's like the big one. And you talked about that a little bit. Maria Hill's kind of like the cheat code for this one.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, the way the scenario wants you to do it is thwart down and then attack her. But if you can just get around it, that's the way to do it.
Right. That's the nice thing is she's not steady or stalwart, so can stun, confuse lock her, which is nice.
Yeah, yeah. Which I think is probably the other best way to handle her
Yep.
is just status card her to death.
Yep.
Which so some heroes are going to handle better, so.
I didn't see any overkill. So she doesn't
didn't?
overkill, so you can chump block pretty easy against her.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is maybe like her Dance of Death. You know, she can clear your board pretty easy if
Yes.
you just get the worst, possible scenario.
Yeah. It's a good way to prevent the chump blocking mechanic. There are some scenarios where they prevent that by like you have to Operation Zero Tolerance, for example. But being able to have like Dance of Death and stuff to another way to prevent you from just chump blocking all day is a good way to prevent that, I think, for her.
Right.
So, all right. Any other thoughts, or should we go to final rating? Or
Let's go to final. Let's wrap it up.
all right. Overall, I really liked Black Widow. I think she's a good first villain. I think she's a good villain, even though she's the same as all you're doing is just taking her health to 0, which is majority of villains. It felt different because of how you had to navigate the scenario, and I liked that even though she attacks and all this, she's also threat focused without being like too overly threat focused. But you have to be very careful because she can flip on a dime. She can instant scheme out and in some cases kill you by flipping you back to hero form, which is super annoying, but
Yeah.
good play. Good job, Black
Yeah.
Widow. You got me.
You got me.
So we don't even have like villain ratings, do we? It's been a while since we've
Yeah.
rated a villain.
Since the last box, yeah.
So I'm going to give this rating a solid, you should play her. She's a good villain rating.
Okay. All right. My thoughts are very similar to yours. I like what you said. Like, when you boil her down, she really is don't scheme out and reduce her hit points to 0 at the end of the day. But getting to those points is there's a lot of interaction that you're dealing with along the way that a lot of other ones don't do. I like that it adds a little bit of decision making, planning. Her tempo pace is good, in my opinion. She doesn't have like a big shift. I would say the biggest shift for her is when she's jumping stages. It puts a little bit more threat on at the beginning of each villain phase.
Yeah.
Which, as a player playing it, I'm like, man, it's just more threat and more threat. And when we get to the end of this campaign box, I'll talk more about that. But I do like that change in the game where some was just like, I just put one on. Okay, I just put one on. This one, it shifts, and I do like that. It makes the game feel like it's ramping up a little. It's causing you to play a little better, and you should be a little better when you're halfway through the game like that, switching stages. You should be ready to deal with some of that.
Yeah.
But it's helping the game move on. I like that.
Yeah.
I like the interactions with the preparations. Those were good. I liked that it threw up those roadblocks, prevents stuff, kind of throws you curveballs. The replayability aspect, because of those, is high. You don't know what you're going to get. It's kind of a mystery. It's going to get sprung on you. So I am with you. I think she's up there. Definitely a good first villain, but definitely a good villain scenario overall.
Yeah. I really liked what you said about the changing pace. I think in these last couple of boxes, we've seen a shift in villain design where there is a little bit more of you could feel a change of pace as the scenario goes on. And I think it's been really good to keep villains more exciting throughout a scenario than just like, well, I'm set up, I'll just go through the motions now. So,
Right.
I agree. It's a very small one with her, but it's enough to make it still impactful.
Yep. Put some urgency into the scenario. I liked it.
Yeah. So good job,
That's right.
Shield box. I know
Good
a
job.
lot of people weren't excited for Shield. They wanted other people, but so far, pretty
Yeah.
good. Good job.
Just copy and pasting, and they did a good job.
The-
Yeah. So
Right on. I'm excited to talk about the next couple of villains coming up. We'll get those episodes out eventually, but
Yeah.
it's a challenge.
yeah, we'll get there. I think it's, in my opinion, I like kind of covering one villain at a time rather than trying to like do one giant massive 5 villain. Yeah, give them each their own due respect in full episode.
Now, if you do see us do that, where we just shove one with another one, it's probably because we didn't like one of them.
Yeah, it's probably not that good.
Oh well.
Will there be one in this shield box? I don't know. You gotta watch or listen to find out.
That's right. That's right. We have. I don't know if we actually said it in the beginning, but we are recording this, like our actual faces recording video. So if you're watching this, or if you're listening to this, you could go back and watch it. Or you could be watching right now, and this makes no sense to you because you've
Yeah, you're
already
like,
been watching it.
Why are they
and
yapping about it yet? But this is
like
where we
and
get to go like
subscribe.
this. Here, go here, here. Yeah. So
Good times.
it's
good
like
times.
it's always down here,
It's always
here.
down here. Gotta have
You know,
some
do
like,
the things.
term.
Yeah. But yeah, I like this. Good start of the shield box. So
Yeah.
excited to talk about some other ones. But until then, we want to hear if you like Black Widow. Leave us a comment, email us, marvelchampionspod@gmail.com. We would definitely like to hear from you. Your thoughts. Is Black Widow an awesome first villain, or is she just, a spider that you just kind of squish with your boot, I guess? Yeah, let us know. But if you want to go from a chump to a champ, Ryan, watch or listen to the Marvel Champions podcast. Thanks.
Now, the real question that I'll leave you all with, which Black Widow's better? Bye.
Bye.